Bandersnatch is a film about a fake video game based on a fictional book within the film, based on a fictional creature found in Lewis Carroll's real book, Through the Looking Glass. This shit has layers. I really like this film or game or whatever you want to call it, so I would highly recommend you watch the film before you watch this video. Set in 1984 England, a not so subtle reference to the book 1984 about an authoritarian society where they control your mind. Bandersnatch is about a 19-year-old programmer named Stefan Butler who wants to adapt his favorite book called Bandersnatch, a choose-your-own-adventure book, into a choose-your-own-adventure video game on an Atari-like machine where it's just a joystick and you can choose choice A or choice B. Kind of like what the Netflix viewer is doing while watching this. Stefan takes his idea to the premier video game company called Tuckersoft, and they agree to fund his project. This film is very, very trippy, and it's a trip. And of course, the whole buzz is that you can actually choose different paths in the film that leads to different outcomes and storylines. Now, YouTube was already able to utilize this a while ago through linking videos within the overlays, but this is the first choose-your-own-adventure film that has Charlie Booker of Black Mirror fame writing it, and when Charlie Booker gets involved, that makes all the difference in the world. Back to the story, early on we are introduced to Stefan's father, whom he has a lingering tension with. We find out this is from an early trauma caused by the death of Stefan's mother, which Stefan blames his father for because his father hid his doll when he was a child thinking he was being a wuss, and Stefan threw a fuss which caused his mom to take a later train that ended up derailing and killing his mother. Stefan is now 19 years old and an inspiring video game designer. At the breakfast table, we are given our first decision point. Which cereal does Stefan want to eat? Every time we, the viewer, are given a decision, a white bar begins to count down the roughly 10 seconds we have to make the choice. If you don't make a choice, it defaults into the first choice, but in case you are feeling lazy, no, you cannot finish the film with just the default choices. I tried and I couldn't do it. They force you to make decisions and there's no obviously right or wrong path. I think the film does a really great job balancing a pretty finely written narrative, but also making you feel like a part of it. While the characters essentially are waiting for you, the viewer, to make the choice, they are never just sitting around. Stuff is always happening. We see Stefan's mind turning as he's thinking, and we also see the reaction of the people around him as they're taking the whole situation into account. What makes Bandersnatch a Black Mirror story though, because it can't be a Black Mirror story without a really cool hook, it's that our protagonist Stefan starts to feel like he's being controlled. And that's where things get really meta and really interesting. The decisions start to become more consequential as he's on this quest to finish his game, even when they are just split decisions. For example, in one scene, he's having a fight with his father, and we are given two choices. Is he going to smash his computer, or is he going to pour coffee over it? We, the viewer, make the selection, and we expect Stefan to execute immediately as he's done before. But this time, he grabs his hand mid-action because he doesn't really want to make that decision. And for me, even though he didn't do what I say, the fact that he's fighting it actually made me feel more in control because it gives him more agency. And it was just a really novel experience and kind of a power trip, at least initially. Because our character dives deeper into madness, we also start to question everything he's questioning, like who's really in control. There are so many layers to the story, to his father and his psychiatrist, the people around Stefan. He seems like a very sad young man who can't handle that the way his mother died was so outside of his control, yet he feels guilt for, and that trauma has just been festering until he's near a breaking point. As a child, he couldn't save his mother, and therefore the whole world feels unstable and completely outside of his control. This, coupled with his obsession with creating games, he's already prone to getting lost in his own world. Maybe an interpretation is that he's just crazy, but that's not what this film is about. Or maybe this is exactly what this film is about, but one iteration of this film, not necessarily another. There are different strands and completely different realities within this film. The only common link is Stefan. For example, there's another reality where he finds out his father has been manipulating him since he was a kid, and all of the traumatic events were manufactured in a stage. There are other paths where his story ends when he ends in jail. One of my favorite reoccurring parts are the incorrect endings where a very blunt newscaster or announcer gives a review of Stefan's game and a brief history of Stefan's demise as the creator of the game. Each review is different based on the type of story you just experienced. So if our journey ended prematurely, the broadcaster will say, "This ended prematurely and it really wasn't that satisfying." Basically, this broadcaster is preemptively telling us our critiques of what we just watched. And if there's a problem with this film overall, it's that it really is too smart for its own good. Rather than focus on the story at hand, it's always reminding us how much smarter it is than us by telling us how we feel at any given moment in the story. Stefan is the poor guy taking the blunt of all of this manipulation, but even he is just a character in the experience that's part of it manipulating us. So what is it all about? It's about free will and how we don't have any. Stefan struggles with where his ideas and decisions are coming from, and while he's doing this, we the viewer also ask the same questions. Initially, we feel like we're in an advantageous position because we have the choices in front of us. We decide which CD he's going to listen to, or if he's going to talk to his father or walk away. But we only have two options. Why are there only two options? And who chose those two options? In the moments where Stefan does something drastic in the very heat of the moment, did he really have a choice there? That's not just my thinking aloud, but as we and Stefan keep failing at completing the adventure, we don't stop playing because we want to see the ending. Stefan only gets closer to achieving his goal of making a great game when he starts to uncover the truth that all of his decisions have not been his own. Once he finally accepts this, he realizes the problem in his game making was that he was giving the players too many choices. He only had to give them the illusion of choice, but he could decide on the optimal ending that gives a superior gaming experience and finally gives him the rave reviews he craves. The ending that completes the film for us the viewer, meaning that you actually see the credits, was when Stefan realized he was never in control. The film doesn't end until we get the right ending. And even when it seems like we're in control, we're actually just on another loop of the same idea. When we make the wrong decision, it always takes us back to the forks in the road where we made the wrong decision. So we have another chance to make the right one and move the story forward. I thought I'd get lost in all of the different paths, but the storytelling is very clear, so I could actually remember which paths I had taken, and it would always give a very helpful recap if we were to go too far back into the story. A majority of the movie supports that there probably isn't free will. Thankfully, Charlie Brooker is not trying to preach to us as his primary goal. First off, he wants to make an entertaining film, so he throws out a lot of alternative theories and themes for us to latch onto and overthink. There are also paths that just seem to happen for fun, without real consequence. So if I had to sum up the theme, we definitely are not as in control as we think, but in this Netflix world, we are in Charlie Brooker's playground, and he has a firm grasp on the decision tree of his viewers' minds. There's so much more to say about Bandersnatch, like the parallel of Stefan's programming journey to writing this story. Inception was Christopher Nolan's film about filmmaking. Maybe this film is Brooker's film about writing. There's the hilarious LSD scene where our characters are just tripping balls, and he seems to be suggesting that we need chemical assistance to discover the true nature of reality. Maybe there really is a government conspiracy to control us. That's a super common theme. Maybe Pac-Man is a nefarious game mind control device. I can't go down that rabbit hole this sober, so maybe another time. I know that was a lot, but this film is a lot. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out, maybe even watch it with some friends. While it's not the most exciting core story, it's such a novel experience with incredible lean writing and that Black Mirror quality that has just become synonymous with excellence. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all next time. Did you see all the different endings in Bandersnatch? Are we in control of our lives? Let me know in the comment section below.